Hi everyone. I'm on the phone with Maureen Karpan. Maureen's one of our long-standing teachers, great teacher, and some of you may have noticed a few days ago she posted that she'd held an online piano party and it went really well and it was successful and she learned a lot and there were some teachers that had asked if they could find out more about it. So I just reached out to Maureen and asked if she'd be kind enough to hop on a Zoom call. We're recording this call and I thought then we could just hear from Maureen and she could just talk about it for a few minutes or as long as she needs. And then we could share that with the teachers. Very generous of her and very generous of you, Maureen. Thank you so much. I really
You're welcome.
appreciate you taking
Sure.
some time. So just tell us a little bit about you. How long have you been teaching Simply Music now?
Geez, by 9 or 10 years, I think.
And where are
Yeah.
you located?
In San Jose, California.
And typically, do you have any form of a recital or a piano day or play day or a piano party? What do you usually
Yeah.
do?
So, twice a year, usually around the holidays, in December, we go to assisted living homes. At this point, it's usually about four different assisted living homes, and each student chooses one of those, and we share music there. Sometimes we focus on accompaniment, sing along songs, and sometimes we mix accompaniment with performing. And then in the last few years, I've tried to do more of a formal recital type thing in May, find a place to rent and actually gather in a couple different shifts, I think is how we did it. I planned on doing it this spring too, but of course that got derailed. So we decided this time to do Zoom parties instead.
Yeah, obviously everything changed with the pandemic, and so how did it all come about? What did you decide on?
Well, my assistant, I have an assistant for just a few hours a week that is of immeasurable help to me. She's worked
Mm.
for me for a few years now. So we talked it over and we thought, well, we're just going to try a Zoom party because what else can we do, you know? And this is before I heard other discussions by other piano teachers on their ideas. And really, what it came down to, as we know now, is piano teachers either decided if they wanted to do a recital type thing this spring, either they were going to have the students record videos at home and send them to them, and they'll string the videos together and they'll disseminate that to their families. They may or may not have a watch party along with it, or people would go for the live Zoom party. And we decided to go for the live Zoom party. It seemed like the easiest for me, and the most like what we like to do, which is get together live and share music with each other.
Yeah, I think that was a really great thing. I know that we had, I'd mentioned that one of our teachers, Brenda Desariga, I'm sorry I get that name incorrect, Brenda. She had people record them all and forward them, and one of the moms put them together. I thought that was a really cool idea, but it was really great to hear that you'd done it live too. So
Yeah.
tell us about that.
Yeah, I will. And I know Stephen Rydell did it live, and Bernie Ashby did it live too, and somebody else preceded. So I was kind of standing on the shoulders of others who had shared with me their experiences. I had reached out to them, and they were generous and
Yes,
shared with me what they did.
yes.
So I put it at the end of May to give us the most time. You know, I didn't want to get into the summer, but I'm like, let's just wait to the end of May, so we have the most time to figure this out. Um, I have about 55 students right now, so we decided to do two shifts. It just seemed like all in one was going to be too long. And I ended up putting the beginners in one and the advanced students in the second one. I usually don't split it up that way, and I can't remember why we made that decision, but that's what we did. Um, so
Well, just
maybe about
on that
25.
point, and on that point, um, was that a successful thing to do, to divide it up by level of advancement, so to speak?
Yes, well, it was. I mean, I think it would have worked fine not doing that too, mixing it up another way. I definitely think it was a good idea to split it in two and keep it to an hour. You know, not have
Yes,
expected to be longer than an hour.
yes.
The beginners was levels found or the little ones pre foundation one up to foundation three.
Mm.
um, I think that's who I considered put in the beginners one, and that was especially fun. Asked them to just play one song, and then we had time for trivia questions in between the songs, or at least every 3 or 4 songs, I would throw a few trivia questions. Like for example, one boy, Justin, played something he calls mashed up blues, and it was clearly a mashup of alma mater blues and Jackson blues and Bishop Street blues, and so it was a chance for me to say, okay, what did you hear in there? What do you think he mashed up to get it? And people could take turns raising their hands, because you can see them raising their hands if you're on gallery view, and I
Mm,
could call on children that they were pretty excited to figure out how Justin had put together his mashed up blues.
mm,
um, or it could be a simple question as what was so and so wearing, yeah. I just wanted to really keep them on their toes and not have anybody be on mute and off practicing the
mm.
piano or off,
Good thinking.
getting a snack or whatever. It was only an hour, so I really wanted them focused and participating.
Yeah, great idea.
Yeah. And the advanced one, we had more music. There were longer pieces, so we had no time for that. We managed to finish in an hour exactly, and they just had to go one song to the next with each performing one song.
Approximately how many students were in the advanced one?
About 25, I'd say. And that
Okay.
was Foundations 4 up till, you know, the latest, the most experience I have, which are in development levels.
Okay. And so were they mainly still playing pieces from the curriculum, or here are they playing a more diverse array of stuff?
It was more diverse. It was both. So, um, yeah, the most advanced students mostly weren't doing from the curriculum. They picked their own. Somebody did a Chopin piece. Somebody did a ragtime piece. Somebody did an adult did an old style jazz piece. Yeah, there's a lot of outside the curriculum pieces at that point.
Great, great. And now, at a logistical level, we've got a bunch of students online, and you've got everyone in gallery view, or at least for the trivia. How did you manage it all online? How did that all
Right.
play?
So, my assistant and I split up the tasks. And I would recommend, if you're going to have a large Zoom party, especially if you're using the waiting room and really screening, making sure the people coming in belong there, that you have another adult helping you who knows Zoom. It could be a parent volunteer, for example, even because a lot of parents are working on Zoom now. They know Zoom well too. Um,
And sorry, Maureen, to interrupt. I just for those people that aren't familiar, one of the features of Zoom is that when people join the meeting, they don't directly come into the meeting. It can be set up so they go to a waiting room and they're there until Maureen or her assistant would give them permission. So that's what Maureen was talking to. It's a great idea, actually.
That's right. So I always use a waiting room for my lessons too. And I do have the personal ID, because that to me is setting things up like my real studio is set up. People come in and out of my personal room all day long for piano lessons. I use the same thing for the party because they all know how to log in and out. We did encourage them to invite guests, so grandparents, cousins, friends, and we had a handful. Not a lot of people did that, but a few people did. And we
So,
gave them specific instructions of how to log in. Like we wanted their login, their display name to say, um, Justin's grandparents, Lewis's uncle, and they told us ahead of time who they were expecting, so we could watch for that in the waiting room. That
oh,
said,
great
I
idea.
knew this would
Great idea.
happen. There did end up, you always end up people don't read instructions or can't figure them out, and you get iPad 1 coming in, or some random name. And so we made the decision to let them in and then ask them who they were and just
Yep.
make sure they were there. We also took care to turn off screen sharing for participants instead of hosts, so participants could not screen share. So I know a lot of people are worried about Zoom bombs and whatnot, and we figured we were pretty safe. Nobody could display anything. They came in, we could look at them, and of course we had no problems. So a few people did come in unknown to us, and they identified themselves as the friend of so and so was there that could say, "Oh, hi." So we knew they belonged there.
Now, what about setup? Were you giving people any advice with regards to positioning of their device to get the best
Yes.
audio?
So I got a lot of great ideas from other Simply Music teachers, actually, with lessons, where I think Joan Hildebrand was the first one to put a video out there. I think it was her, of the um, iPad or the computer on the side of the piano, so you can
Yeah.
see both the student's entire head and body and their keyboard. We did spend a few weeks getting their sound and their visual set up properly. So I asked them to do that in advance. So the lessons in advance of the party, I could check it and say, oh, your head's getting cut off, or, could you back it up a little bit? Or, hey, the other side of the piano might work better because you're getting a lot of glare from the window. So I wasn't looking for like professional looking setup, but we're just trying to avoid the obvious problems. In addition, I did really work with them to get their sound tweaked. So original sound, people that use Zoom, musicians that use Zoom have heard about this a lot. You want them to turn original sound on, and it's a little bit different for every device. I do have instructions written up for that. So if anybody needs that, I can provide that. There's also a couple settings about not suppressing background noise. You can do this for computers, not for tablets. And so the bottom line is Zoom thinks pianos are background noise and wants to block them out because they're set up for conference calls. And we want, of course, the piano to be let in. So you do want to work with your students to tweak those settings.
Yeah, and we do have some instructional videos that we've provided now, and there's plenty of stuff on the Simply Music Teachers Facebook group too about the audio setup.
Yeah.
um, and so, if I understand correctly, you've got the participants and family; they've all joined. You've got 25 people, and it's in gallery view, so you can see all the tiles.
Mm-hmm.
And then, how do you manage now when you're wanting someone to play?
Okay, so we use the spotlight view setting, and my role was to MC the thing and do the spotlighting. Heidi's role was to watch the waiting room and do the canned applause. I can talk about that in a minute. And what else did she do? And she did the recording. We did want to record it because we had some relatives in the other side of the world that students wanted to share this with. And we got permission from all the parents, but not everybody responded to our permission slips despite a couple of tries. And so she handled pausing the recording where we didn't have permission and starting it again where we did. So she had a lot to do, but she did a great job.
And I just
So,
want to mention on that too, with regards to a question was asked about with these piano parties or recitals or performances. It's fine if you record them. Been asked the question about whether that was okay given the license agreement. Of course, it's okay. So I'm just making sure that everyone who's watching knows that this is absolutely fine for these to be recorded and shared amongst your students.
wonderful, thank you. So back to the spotlighting. There's a Zoom setting called Spotlight, and that forces the person to be big on the screen for everybody in the call. So I would spotlight the video so it would make them big so they play their piece, and then an unspotlight at the end. Now I feel like I tested it. I'm not 100% sure it returns people to gallery view, might return the speaker view. I don't know. So I've seen a lot of piano teachers out there saying, okay, do jazz hands, do clapping so they can, but I didn't feel like I could guarantee that the player was going to see everybody once they unspotlighted. I can't really control what they see. So I chose at this another Simply Music piano teacher did this, and I can't remember who. I'm sorry, because she even shared the website with me for free canned applause. So they'd hear canned applause after every, little light clapping. You could even choose like stadium cheering. You could choose whatever you wanted, but I didn't go over the top. We just used the light clapping. I did ask people to pay attention and clap after every, even though they knew they were muted. I said, so we might be able to see everybody clapping, so please make sure you're clapping at the end.
And so, how did that work with the canned applause? Is that you don't happen to have that, or how did you set that up?
So it's a little audio file, and I put it on my computer. Heidi and I tested it. For some reason, when I played it on the computer, it was real quiet. It was too quiet, so we ended up just doing a low-tech thing where she had her mic, and she just took her phone. She had the little file on her phone, and she just played into the mic. The canned applause. That's
That's
how we did
great.
it.
I love it. I think it's hilarious. That's
Yeah.
really funny.
Yeah, you probably know, and everybody that knows that has been teaching on Zoom may know this, but just last week, Zoom changed things so you can no longer unmute all without the participants' permission. So we were going to have people applaud live and unmute after every player. but now it puts a message on the screen for privacy reasons. The host wants to unmute you, and I did not want to take the time to have everybody unmute themselves and applaud, of course. So that's why we went to the canned applause.
Yeah, I think that that's great. Yeah, really good idea. What else did you learn? What were your observations? What worked?
You know, it was fun. I would even do this once we're able to get together again. In person lessons, I might do a Zoom party. For one thing, I think it's great to maybe teach one Zoom lesson a month because I think it's fabulous to see inside people's homes, see what instrument they're playing, see them in their elements, see their little siblings around. You know, I just think it's lovely I think it's very helpful for a teacher to see that. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I've found the same. Even having the opportunity to be doing these lesson bombs, it's been great to actually see the student setups and the teacher setup, and there's an informality to it that I find is even a little more intimate. It just seems a little bit more close when people are in their own environment. So
yeah,
you're suggesting that you might consider, out of a regular month of lessons, have one of them be an online lesson.
yeah,
Really
save people
interesting idea.
commuting. And
Yeah.
you know, as a teacher, we can even see things like, oh, I suggest you put another cushion under you. You know, you're reaching your
Mm,
hands up to the keyboard, or your piano needs tuning, you know, whatever diplomatic way you can say that. I mean, you really can tell a lot. And then I find that parents kind of clean up their game a little bit to try to get their kids set up well, you know, whereas I have a feeling before they were just sitting on the floor, kind of reaching over to some, you know, I think it's good. And so, yeah, I might have another Zoom party even when we can be in person.
mm,
Um, of course, the sound on Zoom isn't great. For the advanced pieces, the Chopin piece, you know, you lose so much
mm,
when you're listening on Zoom. And that's the unfortunate part. But I know musicians are speaking loudly to, you know, and Zoom is hearing us, and I'm sure it'll continue to improve.
mm. Yeah, there's a couple of options that I'm looking into. One of our teachers showed me a device that they have that will work for electronic devices, where you can plug the electronic device directly into the phone and the sound quality, and then have that phone connect as part of the Zoom link. The sound quality was significantly enhanced. So I'd like
Well,
to look more.
that's right. I, in fact, for myself, I have my keyboard and I have it connected to a mixer, and I just sort of did all this quickly when we had to move to. Can you see the mixer? There's a
Yeah,
mixer
yeah,
down here. Sorry, I can't see what I'm showing you.
yeah.
And so, and that mixer is a USB mixer that goes straight into the computer, and so my sound is fabulous. I mean, it's
Mm,
only as good as my keyboard is. I prefer my piano, but you know, when I switch the voice on the keyboard to strings or whatever, you can hear it perfectly. And so,
mm,
so yeah, so if one has the ability to plug their keyboard directly into something, a device like you're talking about, or a mixer or something, then the sound is good. Um, for students, it's a little more challenging, but maybe.
yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay, what else more? Any other observations, insights, advice, recommendations,
I
suggestions?
think we covered, let me just make sure we covered everything that I thought was important. Um, yeah, no, that's, I think we covered it all. Yeah, your questions were good ones. We got everything that I wanted to say.
You're really generous of you, and I'll
No
just
problem.
download this and I'll post it out to the teachers and pop it up onto the Facebook group. And the main thing about it overall is that we're finding with the collective experience of everybody that people are continuing to find ways to refine things and improve the online lesson experience. And one of the things that I have mentioned before that we're seeing more of is that parents are finding that as much as there's an advantage in the live, online, in-person experience, and we're all aware of that, people are still finding that there are benefits to the online experience, and so that occasional hybrid could be a really good solution and option for lots of teachers. So I'll
Yeah.
be most interested to hear how that goes. And for everyone who's watching this who decides that they're going to do their own piano party or recital or concert, whatever it is you want to call it, um, reach out and let us know exactly what it was like. And even if it meant sharing a part of the recording with us all, so we can all benefit from the experience and the expertise of everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maureen. Well, great to
You're
see you,
welcome.
and I'll be in touch, and I'm
Yeah.
sure I'll see you soon in another lesson, Bob.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you, Neil.
So much.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye bye.
See you. Bye bye.